You're here, that's enough. Maybe you've been lying there for 20 minutes already, trying to convince your mind to stop. Maybe you came straight here because you just knew that tonight would be one of those nights. Or maybe you're not even sure why you clicked. Only that something about the stillness in that image, the promise of quiet, felt like what you needed. I don't know your day. I don't know what you're carrying. But I know that feeling when your body is exhausted but your brain won't let go. When the harder you try to sleep, the more awake you become. When you need permission to stop trying so hard. So here it is. You don't have to do anything right now. You don't have to fix anything, solve anything, become anything. You can just be here. Let the words wash over you. Let your mind wander if it wants to. Let yourself drift. This is a story about someone who found a quiet place when the world got too loud. And maybe, while you listen, you'll find one too. It starts with snow. With a house that sits alone at the edge of winter. With a lamplight in a window and the kind of silence that doesn't ask anything of you. Let's go there now. The house sits alone at the end of a gravel road that disappears into white silence. Winter has claimed everything beyond the windows, the fields, the distant tree line, the low stone wall that marks where the property ends and the woods begin. Snow falls without sound, each flake descending in its own time, unhurried, as though it has nowhere else to be. The sky holds that particular stillness that comes only on the coldest nights, when the air itself seems to pause between breaths. Inside, a single lamp burns on the table near the window. Its light is amber, the color of old honey, and it casts gentle shadows across the wooden floor. The glow does not reach far, just enough to soften the corners of the room, to make the space feel contained, held. Beyond that small circle of warmth, the rest of the house fades into comfortable darkness. A figure moves through the doorway, slow and deliberate. She carries nothing, her hands empty at her sides. She pauses just inside the room, as though checking that everything remains as she left it. The chair by the window, the small stack of books on the side table, the woolen blanket folded across the armrest, all of it exactly where it should be. The walls are bare wood, unstained, aged to a soft grey that seems to absorb the lamplight rather than reflect it. There are no photographs hanging, no decorations demanding attention, only the grain of the wood itself, which flows in long, unbroken lines from floor to ceiling. In daylight, those lines might seem plain, unremarkable. But now, touched by the amber glow, they become something else, rivers of shadow and light, patterns that shift when she moves, that hold still when she does. The floor beneath her feet is worn smooth in certain places, near the doorway, in front of the chair, along the path between the window and the kitchen beyond. These are the places where feet have passed most often, where the wood has been shaped by use, by presence, by the simple act of being walked upon day after day. She can feel the difference through her socks, the cool smoothness where the boards have been polished by time, the slight resistance where the grain still holds its texture. The table stands solid beneath the lamp. Its surface is scarred with the marks of long use rings where hot cups have rested, small indentations where something heavy was set down too quickly, a pale streak where water once sat too long. None of these marks look like damage. They look like memory, like proof that this table has been here, holding things, supporting weight, offering surface for longer than she has known it. Against the far wall, a wood stove sits quiet and dark. She has not lit it tonight. The house holds enough warmth from the day, enough heat trapped in the walls and floor to keep the cold at bay for now. Later, perhaps, she will kneel before it and arrange kindling, strike a match, coax flame into being, but not yet. For now, the stillness suits her. From somewhere deep in the house comes the faint creak of settling wood. Not the sharp crack of something breaking, but the low, almost musical groan of timbers adjusting to the cold. The sound is familiar enough that she barely registers it. Her body knows this house, knows its sounds, the way it speaks throughout the night, the way it breathes. Outside, the wind must be moving, because the snow shifts direction slightly, no longer falling straight down but drifting at an angle past the window. She watches it for a moment, the endless descent of white against darkness. There is something hypnotic in it, something that asks nothing. The snow does not care if she watches or looks away. It continues regardless, patient and thorough, covering everything inch by inch. The silence between the sounds has weight. It is not empty. It is full of the absence of voices, of engines, of the mechanical hum that fills so many other places. Here, silence is the default state. Sound is the exception. And when sound does come, it arrives soft and deliberate, like a visitor who knows better than to knock too loudly. She hears her own breath, steady, unhurried, in through the nose, out through slightly parted lips. The air she draws in carries the faint scent of old wood, dry wood, the kind that has been inside for so long it has forgotten what rain smells like. There is something else beneath it, harder to name. Perhaps it is simply the smell of winter itself, that clean, almost metallic coldness that seeps through even the best insulated walls. The woman moves to the chair by the window and lowers herself into it without hurry. The cushion gives beneath her weight, familiar and worn to the shape of her body. She has sat here often enough that the chair seems to expect her to hold her exactly as she needs to be held. Her hands rest on the armrests, palms down, fingers spread slightly. She does not fidget, does not adjust her position. She simply sits. Before reaching for anything, she touches the edge of the lamp with her fingertips, testing its warmth. The metal base has absorbed heat from the bulb inside, radiating it gently into the air. She leaves her fingers there for a moment longer than necessary, letting the warmth seep into her skin. It is a small gesture, meaningless perhaps to anyone watching, but she does it every time. A habit so ingrained she would not know how to explain it. On the table beside the lamp sits a mug, empty except for a dark ring at the bottom where tea once pooled. She does not remember when she last drank from it. This morning, perhaps, or yesterday evening. Time has a way of softening here, of losing its edges. Morning and evening blur together when the days are short and the nights arrive early. She does not mind. In fact, she welcomes it the way hours stop demanding to be counted, the way minutes stop insisting on their own importance. Her eyes move to the window, to the snow still falling beyond the glass, to the darkness that presses close but does not threaten. She could draw the curtains, shut out the night entirely, create an even smaller world within this already small space. But she does not. There is comfort in seeing the boundary between inside and outside, in knowing exactly where warmth ends and cold begins. The glass itself is cool when she reaches out and touches it, cold enough to make her fingertips tingle. She leaves her hand there anyway, feeling the temperature difference, the proof of separation. She has been here for 3 days now, or perhaps 4. The counting does not matter as much as it once might have. What matters is that she is here, that she has given herself permission to be here, that the world beyond this house has agreed, however temporarily, to continue without her. The thought should bring guilt. For a long time, it would have. But tonight, it brings something else. Relief. Quiet, uncomplicated relief. The people she has left behind know where she is. They know she is safe. They know she will return when she is ready. That is enough. It has to be enough. Because she has learned, slowly and at great cost, that she cannot be what everyone needs her to be every single moment of every single day. There must be nights like this, nights when the only person she tends to is herself. She does not think of this as selfishness. She thinks of it as survival, as necessary maintenance, as the kind of quiet that allows her to return to noise without breaking. On the small shelf above the wood stove, a row of objects sits in careful arrangement. A smooth stone, pale grey and oval. A piece of driftwood worn to silk by water. A brass compass, tarnished green in places, its needles still true. A book with no dust jacket, its spine cracked from repeated reading. These things belong to no collection. They follow no theme. They are simply objects she has gathered over time, things that spoke to her for reasons she could not articulate, things that now live here because this is where they seem to belong. The stone came from a beach she visited once, years ago. She remembers the day, the wind, the salt smell, the way her shoes filled with sand no matter how carefully she walked. She remembers seeing the stone among thousands of others and knowing, somehow, that this one was meant to be picked up, carried home, kept. She does not know why. Perhaps because its smoothness was perfect. Perhaps because it fit exactly in the curve of her palm. Perhaps for no reason at all. The driftwood came from the same trip. A different beach. A different state of mind. She had been walking alone that afternoon, and the piece of wood had been lying at the tide line, half buried in kelp and broken shells. She pulled it free, rinsed it in the surf, and carried it back. It still smells faintly of salt when the air is humid enough. She has never tried to seal it, to preserve it, to stop it from slowly returning to whatever it was before the ocean claimed it. Some things are meant to change. The compass was her grandfather's, or perhaps it belonged to someone before him. She is not certain of its history, only that it came to her after he died, passed along with a box of other small things no one else wanted. She has never used it to navigate. She has never taken it hiking or camping or on any journey where its function might be required. But she likes having it. Likes knowing that its needle still swings north when she holds it level. that it still understands something fundamental about the world, even if she does not. The book has no title visible on its worn spine. She would have to take it down and open it to remember what story it holds. But she does not need to. She knows this book, has read it enough times that whole passages live in her memory, waiting to be recalled. It is not a famous book, not a classic. Just a novel someone gave her once, saying she might like it, and she had. She had liked it so much that she read it twice in the same month, then put it away for years, then found it again and read it once more, slower this time, savoring. The lamp flickers, just once. A momentary dimming, then steady again. She watches it, waiting to see if it will happen again. It does not. The bulb is old, probably nearing the end of its life. She should replace it. She has spares in the kitchen drawer, but not tonight. Tonight, she will let it burn as long as it chooses to burn. There is something about old light bulbs, the way they hold on past their expected lifespan, glowing with increasing fragility, until one day they simply stop. She thinks about this more than is probably normal. Thinks about the difference between burning out and being extinguished, about which is gentler, which is more honest. She shifts slightly in the chair, adjusting her position without standing. Her body is tired, but it is the good kind of tired, the kind that comes from physical work, from moving through the day with purpose, from using muscles that often sit dormant. She spent the morning splitting wood, not because the stack was low, but because she needed something to do with her hands, something that required force and rhythm and attention. The axe is still outside, leaning against the chopping block. She will bring it in tomorrow, or the day after. There is no rush. Her hands still carry the memory of that work. The slight ache in her palms where the handle pressed, the tightness in her forearms, the pull across her shoulders. She has learned to welcome this kind of discomfort. It is proof of effort, proof that her body still works the way it is meant to work, that it can still do hard things when asked. The house makes another sound. This time, it is the faint tick of the wood stove cooling, metal contracting as heat dissipates. She knows this sound too, knows that it will continue for another hour or more, a slow percussion that marks the passage of time without demanding acknowledgement. She does not wear a watch here, does not keep her phone nearby. Time exists, but it exists differently measured, not in minutes, but in the space between sounds, the shift from light to dark, the cooling of tea, the accumulation of snow on the window ledge. She thinks about the people who might wonder what she does here, alone, in a house this quiet, what she does with all this time. And the truth is, she does very little. She reads, she sits, she watches snow fall, she makes tea and lets it grow cold. She moves through the rooms slowly, touching things, remembering things, letting thoughts rise and fall without trying to organize them into anything coherent. She naps in the afternoon when her body asks for it. She stays awake late into the night when sleep does not come easily. She eats when hungry, rests when tired, and does not apologize to anyone for the shapelessness of her days. This is what she came here for. This permission to be formless, to exist without schedule or obligation, to let go of the constant negotiation between what she wants to do and what she should do. Here, Those two things are the same. What she wants is to be still. What she should do is exactly that. Outside, the wind picks up slightly, not enough to be called a storm, but enough to send the snow swirling past the window in eddies and spirals. She watches it shift direction, watches it dance in the lamplight before disappearing into darkness. The glass between her and the cold is thin. She can feel the temperature difference radiating from it, the way warmth meets cold and neither quite wins. Balance, precarious but holding. She has always been drawn to thresholds, to edges, to the places where one thing becomes another. The shore where land meets water, the tree line where meadow becomes forest, the window where inside meets outside. These are the spaces where she feels most herself, standing neither fully in one place nor the other, belonging to both and neither. Perhaps this is why she chose this house, why she returns to it when the world becomes too loud, too demanding, too insistent on her participation, because it is a threshold, a place between her life as others know it and her life as she needs it to be. She can stand here, in this room, and see both versions of herself, the one who moves through the world with competence and grace, and the one who sometimes needs to stop moving entirely. Her gaze drifts to the stack of books on the side table. She brought several with her, thinking she would read, thinking she would finally have time for the stories she has been meaning to return to. But most of them remain untouched. It turns out that what she needed was not more words, more narratives, more voices. What she needed was fewer. What she needed was silence large enough to hear herself think. Still, she likes having the books nearby, likes knowing they are there if she wants them, likes the weight of their presence, the way they sit solid and patient, asking nothing, offering everything. She has always felt this way about books, that they are generous in their stillness, that they wait without judgment, that they never make her feel guilty for not opening them. One of the books has a bookmark protruding from its pages, a scrap of paper torn from something else, nothing fancy, just a marker to hold her place. She has been stuck on the same page for 2 days now. Not because the book is difficult, but because every time she opens it, she reads the same paragraph, absorbs the same sentences, and then sets it down again, content. The paragraph is about light, about the way afternoon sun falls through a particular window in a particular room. The description is so precise, so lived in, that she does not need to read further. She can rest inside that one paragraph and feel satisfied. She stands slowly, feeling her joints adjust. Her muscles remember how to support her weight. The floor is cool beneath her feet, even through her socks. She moves toward the kitchen, not because she is hungry, but because motion sometimes helps when stillness becomes too heavy. The kitchen is smaller than the main room, tucked into the back of the house where the roof slopes lower. A single window looks out onto nothing, just darkness and falling snow. The counter is clean, empty except for a dish towel draped over the edge of the sink. She has been washing dishes as she uses them, a habit she does not maintain at home, but one that feels right here. Something about this place asks for order, not rigidity, but a kind of gentle organization. Everything in its place. nothing left undone longer than necessary. She fills the kettle with water from the tap. The pipes groan slightly, a sound that would alarm her anywhere else, but here seems normal. The water runs clear and cold, cold enough to make her fingers ache when she holds them under the stream. She sets the kettle on the stove and turns the burner to medium heat. The flame catches with a soft whoosh, blue and steady. While the water heats, she leans against the counter and looks out the window. Her reflection stares back, faint and ghostly in the dark glass. She does not often look at herself here. There is no mirror in the bathroom, no reason to check her appearance when no one is watching. She has washed her face with cold water each morning and let that be enough. Has pulled her hair back without fussing over it. Has worn the same clothes for days because they are comfortable and because no one is here to notice or care. There is freedom in this, in being unseen, in letting her body simply be a body functional, unremarkable, unburdened by the constant low-grade anxiety of presentation. The kettle begins to hiss. She turns off the burner before it reaches a full boil. She prefers her tea made with water that is hot but not violent, water that will steep the leaves gently rather than scald them. She has a small tin of chamomile on the shelf above the stove. She opens it and the scent rises sweet, grassy, faintly floral. She measures a spoonful into the mug, pours the water over it, and watches the dried flowers darken and sink. She does not add honey, does not add anything. She likes the tea plain, likes the way its simplicity matches the simplicity of everything else here. Nothing complicated, nothing requiring more than it offers. While the tea steeps, she returns to the main room, mug in hand. The heat seeps through the ceramic into her palms, pleasantly warm without burning. She sits again in the chair by the window, cradles the mug in both hands, and brings it to her face. The steam rises in soft curls, carrying the scent of chamomile with it. She breathes it in slowly, lets it fill her lungs, then releases it just as slowly. This is not meditation. She is not trying to clear her mind or achieve any particular state. She is simply drinking tea, simply sitting, simply breathing. But there is something meditative in the simplicity itself, in the way one action follows another without urgency or complication. 20 minutes pass, though she does not count them. The tea cools enough to drink. She sips it slowly, in no hurry to finish. Through the window, the snow continues its slow accumulation on the ledge outside. Half an inch now, perhaps more. By morning, it will be deeper. By morning, the world will be even quieter, even more buried, even more distant. She thinks about the life she left behind when she came here, not with longing, exactly, not with regret, but with a kind of curious detachment, as though she is looking at someone else's life, someone she knows well but is not. She thinks about the emails that are likely piling up in her inbox, the messages she has not answered, the small tasks that will be waiting when she returns. None of it feels urgent from here. None of it feels like it matters in the way it seemed to matter before. This worries her sometimes. This sense that distance reveals how little of her life is essential, that so much of what she does is simply motion, activity for its own sake. performance. But tonight, the worry does not land. Tonight, she is too tired to carry it. She sets it down the way she might set down something heavy, and leaves it there. The mug is empty now. She sets it on the table beside the lamp. Her body feels heavier than it did an hour ago, pleasantly so, the way it feels when warmth and stillness combine to create a kind of gentle weight. She pulls the woolen blanket from the armrest and drapes it across her lap. The fabric is soft from years of use, pilled in places, thin in others, but still warm, still enough. She does not plan to sleep here, not exactly, but she also does not plan to move. She will sit as long as sitting feels right, and when it no longer does, she will rise and go to the bedroom. Or perhaps she will not. Perhaps she will simply close her eyes here, in this chair, with the lamp still burning and the snow still falling, and let the night carry her wherever it chooses to carry her. There is no decision to make. Not really. Her body will know when it is time. Her body always knows when she is quiet enough to listen. She thinks about her grandfather again, the one who owned the compass. She was young when he died, young enough that her memories of him are more impression than detail. She remembers his hands, large and rough, with calluses across the palms. She remembers the smell of tobacco that clung to his clothes even after he quit smoking. She remembers the way he laughed a deep, rumbling sound that seemed to come from somewhere below his chest. He lived alone for the last years of his life, in a house not unlike this one, smaller, perhaps, more isolated. She visited him once, shortly before he died, and she remembers being struck by how little he seemed to need, how few possessions he kept, how sparse the rooms were. At the time, she thought it was sad, thought it meant he had given up somehow, that he was waiting to die in a space emptied of life. But now, sitting here, she wonders if she had it backward, if what she mistook for emptiness was actually clarity, if he had simply learned to let go of everything that was not essential, everything that did not serve him, if the sparseness was not absence but presence, the presence of exactly enough. She wishes she could ask him, wishes she could sit with him now, in this chair, and say, was this it? Was this what you knew? That there is peace in having less, but he is gone, and she is here. And the answer, if there is one, will have to come from her own experience, her own slow unlearning of the belief that more is always better. Outside, a tree branch dips under the weight of accumulated snow. She hears it before she sees it, a soft crack, then a whoosh as the snow slides from the branch and falls to the ground below. The branch springs back up, unburdened, and sways gently in the aftermath. She watches it settle, watches it become still again, and feels something inside her settle too. There is a lesson there, she thinks, in the way the branch does not cling to what weighs it down, in the way it releases, springs back, continues. She has always been someone who clings, who holds on long past the point where holding on makes sense, who carries weight she does not need to carry because letting go feels like failure, like giving up, like admitting she cannot handle everything she thought she could handle. But the branch does not think this way. The branch simply releases when the weight becomes too much, and it does not collapse. It does not break. It returns to its natural shape, ready to bear new weight when the next snow falls. She wonders what it would feel like to live like that. To release without guilt. To return to her natural shape without apology. The lamp flickers again. This time, it dims for several seconds before brightening once more. She watches it, aware that the bulb is nearing its end, aware that she should probably replace it now, before it dies entirely and leaves her in darkness. But she does not move. She will wait. She will let the lamp decide when it has had enough. Her eyelids are heavy now, not with sleep exactly, but with something close, with the kind of tiredness that comes from letting go, from finally releasing the tension she has been holding in her jaw, her shoulders, her chest. She was not aware she was holding it until now, until it began to soften, to dissolve, to leave her body inch by inch. She thinks about the people who love her, the ones who would worry if they knew how deeply tired she is, how close to some invisible edge she has been standing. They would say she should have asked for help sooner, should have taken time off sooner, should have recognized the signs before they became this loud, and they would be right. But she is here now. That is what matters. She is here, and she is resting, and the world is continuing without her, just as it always has, just as it always will. If you've been listening this long, if you're still here with her in this quiet house, maybe you've found something too. Maybe your breath has slowed. Maybe your thoughts have begun to soften at their edges. Maybe you don't need to follow every word anymore. The story continues, whether you're listening closely or drifting away. The lamp keeps burning. The snow keeps falling. And rest, when it comes, comes in its own time. There's no hurry. There never was. Her head tips back against the chair. Her eyes close. She does not fight it. The darkness behind her eyelids is warm, soft, welcoming. She can still hear the faint sounds of the house, the settling wood, the hiss of wind against the windows, the occasional creak of something adjusting to the cold. But these sounds do not disturb her. They anchor her. They remind her where she is. They remind her that she is safe. The snow falls. The lamp burns. The night deepens. And she rests. Not sleeping yet. Not quite. But close. So close. When she opens her eyes again, the room has not changed. The lamp still burns. The snow still falls. But something inside her has shifted. Some small, quiet thing that was taut has loosened. Some small, quiet thing that was closed has opened. She does not name it, does not try to hold it or examine it too closely. She simply notices it the way she might notice the first light of dawn, a barely perceptible shift, a sense that something has changed even if she cannot point to what. Her breath is slow now, deep. Each inhale fills her completely. Each exhale empties her just as completely. There is a rhythm to it, a steadiness that she has not felt in weeks. Months, perhaps. She has been breathing shallowly for so long that she forgot what it felt like to breathe fully, to let her lungs expand, to let her body take what it needs. She thinks about what she will do tomorrow, or what she might do, because there is no plan here, no agenda. She might split more wood, or she might not. She might read. Or she might simply sit here again, watching the snow, drinking tea, letting the hours pass unmarked. It does not matter. For once in her life, it truly does not matter what she does, because there is no one here to judge whether she is using her time well, whether she is being productive, whether she is wasting the gift of a day. The gift of a day. She has always hated that phrase. It implies obligation, as though each day arrives with an expectation of gratitude, of effort, of transformation, as though simply living through a day is not enough. But here, in this chair, with the snow falling and the lamp flickering, she thinks maybe that phrase has been misunderstood. Maybe the gift is not in what the day asks of her, but in what it offers. And what it offers is exactly this: time unmarked, unburdened, hers to use or waste or simply allow to pass. The lamp flickers a third time. This time, it does not recover fully. The light dims, stays dim, glows faintly but steadily. She watches it for a long moment, then rises from the chair. Her legs are stiff from sitting, but not painfully so. She moves slowly across the room to the kitchen, opens the drawer where the spare bulbs are kept, and takes one out. The package crinkles in her hands, loud in the silence. She returns to the lamp, unscrews the old bulb, carefully it is still warmed, replaces it with the new one. The light brightens immediately, strong and steady once more. She sets the old bulb aside, to be disposed of later, and returns to her chair. The small act of changing the bulb feels significant in a way she cannot quite articulate. It is maintenance, care, a decision to continue, to not let the darkness come before it must. She has not always been good at this kind of care, has not always been willing to do the small, necessary things that keep a life functioning. But here, in this place, it feels possible. It feels right. She pulls the blanket higher, tucking it around her shoulders. The weight of it is comforting, like being held without being confined. She shifts slightly, finding the position that asks the least of her body, and settles there. The night continues, the snow continues, the lamp continues, and she, for now, continues with them. There is nothing left to resolve tonight, nothing left to figure out. The questions she brought with her about what she is doing with her life, about whether she is enough, about whether any of this matters, those questions are still there. But they are quieter now, distant. They can wait. They will wait. And when she is ready, when she has rested enough, she will return to them, but not tonight. Tonight, there is only this: the chair, the blanket, the lamp, the snow. The knowledge that she is here, that she is safe, that nothing is required of her except to breathe, to rest, to let the night carry her wherever it needs to carry her. Her eyes close again. This time, she does not open them. The lamp continues to burn. The snow continues to fall. The house continues to settle and creak and hold her within its walls. And she, for the first time in longer than she can remember, allows herself to let go, to release the grip she has been holding on everything on her life, her responsibilities, her endless list of things she should be doing. She lets it all fall away, the way snow falls from the branch, the way breath leaves the body. naturally, inevitably, without resistance. The darkness behind her eyelids deepens. The sounds of the house grow fainter. And somewhere between waking and sleeping, between holding on and letting go, she finds what she came here looking for. Not answers, not solutions, not transformation, just rest. Simple, honest, uncomplicated rest. The snow covers everything now. The fields, the stone wall, the roof of the house. It covers the world softly, gently, inch by inch, until there is nothing left but white silence. And in that silence, in that space between one breath and the next, she sleeps. The lamp stays lit through the night. A small point of warmth in a world gone cold and still. It asks nothing. It offers everything. And when morning comes, whenever morning comes, it will still be burning, just as it always has, just as it always will.